All right, welcome everyone. Ready to dive into the Maldives.
Let's do it.
Awesome. So our source material today, the ultimate Maldives travel guide. And our mission, to help you plan the most epic trip to this slice in paradise.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that when you think Maldives, most people think honeymoon.
Yeah, for sure.
But this guide actually says it's perfect for all kinds of travelers, families, adventurers. Even if you don't picture yourself in an overwater bungalow, there's still something there for you.
Okay, interesting. I'm already picturing those bungalows, though. The way this guide describes them, it's tempting me to book a flight right now.
I know, right?
But, okay, let's be practical for a sec. When is the best time to visit?
Well, if you're going for perfect weather, December to April, think like warm sunshine, clear skies, perfect for underwater photos and all that. It's the dry season, but that also means it's peak season for prices.
Oh, yeah. Makes sense. Dry season, prime time, prime prices.
Yeah.
So is there a sweet spot then? Like good weather, but without, breaking the bank?
Definitely. Consider May and November, the shoulder seasons. You might get a little rain, but you also find much better deals on flights and places to stay.
Okay.
Plus, the water's still warm and perfect for swimming.
All right. Shoulder season travel it is. So let's say we've landed. What are those un festio experiences?
Yeah.
The ones we absolutely cannot miss?
Okay, first, we have to talk about what's under the water. The Maldives is world famous for its snorkeling and diving. And it's not just like dipping your toes in. It's like a whole other world down there.
Yeah, okay. But we're not just talking about any old snorkeling here, right?
Yeah.
What makes the Maldives so special for this?
Okay, picture this. You're swimming through these vibrant coral gardens. You're seeing all these colorful fish. You might even see manta rays gliding by. Places like Banana Reef, Maya Thila, they're known for having some of the most diverse marine life anywhere.
And I've heard about these bioluminescent night dives.
Yes. It's incredible. Diving at night and the water actually glows around you. It's as magical as it sounds, seriously.
Wow, that's definitely going on the list. Okay, so we've explored underwater. What's next? The guide keeps mentioning these private island escapes.
Ah, yes. This is the ultimate luxury, right? Imagine having your own private villa, perched right on top of this turquoise lagoon. You can step right into the water.
Wait, direct access. So you're talking stepping off your deck and into the ocean.
Exactly. That's what we're talking about. Places like Sanebajani, Conrad Maldives, they offer that level of luxury and seclusion.
Okay, I'm officially adding that to my bucket list. But, I also want to experience those classic Maldivian beaches, the ones everyone talks about.
Oh yeah, totally. The guide recommends Holhumel Beach, Velagondu Island. They've got that classic beauty, soft white sand, crystal clear water, palm trees swaying, perfect for sunbathing, swimming, maybe a cocktail with your toes in the sand.
It all sounds a bit too perfect. But hold on, aren't those beaches pretty much what you get with the private island retreats too? How do I choose?
That's a great question. It comes down to what you're looking for, right? Private islands are all about seclusion and personalized service. But if you want more of a social vibe, maybe explore beyond the resort, then the public beaches are perfect for that.
Okay, so it's all about your travel style. Speaking of which, I have to ask about the overwater bungalows.
Ah, the classic Maldivian experience. Waking up to those panoramic ocean views, diving straight from your deck into the lagoon. The guide recommends Gili Lankan Fushi, the St. Regis Maldives for those.
So if I want that true Maldivian experience, an overwater bungalow is like a mess.
It's definitely a highlight. That feeling of being surrounded by water, the sound of the waves right below you, it's really something special.
I can imagine. All right, so we've done underwater beaches, dreamed about bungalows. What about taking in a sunset? Does the guide mention anything about that?
Oh, they Hijacial Way recommend a sunset cruise. It gives you a completely different view of the Maldives' beauty. Imagine sailing across calm waters, the sky, all shades of orange and pink.
And maybe even spotting some dolphins along the way.
You got it. Dolphin sightings are pretty common on those cruises. Adds to the magic, for sure.
Okay, so far we've talked a lot about, the natural beauty and the luxury of the Maldives. But what about the culture? Is there something beyond the resorts?
Absolutely. The guide recommends a day trip to Malé, the capital city. You can get a taste of authentic Maldivian culture there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Explore landmarks like the Grand Friday Mosque, the National Museum,
All right.
and definitely don't miss the Malay Fish Market. That's a must-do for a real local experience.
The fish market. I can just imagine the sights, the smells, the energy. A market. bustling with fresh seafood.
It's amazing. Truly an assault on the senses, but in the best way possible. You really get a feel for the heart of Maldivian life there.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Beaches, underwater adventures, cultural exploration. But no trip is complete without talking about the food. What kind of culinary delights await us in the Maldives?
Get ready for a seafood lover's paradise. Think fresh catches of the day, grilled to perfection, or prepared in these flavorful curries with amazing spices.
Okay, I'm already drooling, but I need specifics. What are some dishes I absolutely have to try?
Okay, so one traditional Maldivian dish is called mashuni. It's a breakfast dish with shredded smoked tuna, coconut, onion, chili, all blended together. It's unique, and it's a super flavorful way to start your day. Then there's garudia, which is a clear fish broth packed with flavor, usually served with rice.
Masuni and Garudia, those are officially going on my Maldivian food bucket list.
Yeah.
What about drinks? What should we be sipping on in paradise?
Well, fresh coconut water is a must, straight from the source. But if you want something a bit stronger, the guide mentions ra, a traditional toddy made from fermented palm sap.
Ra, a palm toddy. That sounds intriguing. What's it like?
It's a little sweet, a little tangy, super refreshing, kind of like the Maldivian version of a local brew, you know?
Okay, I'm definitely trying that. So we've explored underwater, relaxed on beaches, indulged in culinary delights. But before we actually pack our bags and head to the Maldives, are there any essential travel tips we should keep in mind?
Absolutely. And the guide has a whole section on that, which we'll dive into right after
Yeah, or a short break.
a short break. Okay, we're back and ready to keep exploring the Maldives. So before that little break, we were getting into those all-important travel tips, to make sure our trip goes as smoothly as possible.
Right, and the guide emphasizes a few things. First up, age restrictions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like for certain diving activities, you might need to be a certain age just for safety.
Right, right. Safety first, especially when we're talking about the underwater world and all.
Exactly. And while the Maldives is generally pretty safe, the guide does advise, being careful of strong currents when you're swimming or doing water sports. Always follow those safety guidelines and listen to the local experts.
Got it. What about food and water safety? Any tips there?
Yeah, good question. Sticking to bottled water is usually a good idea.
Okay.
And for food, go for well-cooked meals, especially if you're venturing outside those resorts.
Solid advice. Now, what about medical precautions? Anything specific we should know? Yeah, so the guide mentions that healthcare facilities outside of Malé, the capital, can be a bit limited.
Oh, okay.
So it's really important to have good travel insurance, the kind that covers medical evacuation, just in case.
Yeah, that's a great point. Better safe than sorry.
Absolutely. And one last thing about local regulations.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol is actually only allowed on resort islands. Bringing it into the Maldives is illegal.
Interesting. So resort cocktails it is then. Good to know. Now, let's talk about actually getting to this paradise. The guide mentions Valana International Airport, but what happens once we land? How do we get around?
Oh, that's when the real adventure begins.
Okay.
Imagine this. You've got speedboats zipping you between islands. You've got domestic flights if you're going longer distances. And get this, even seaplanes. Imagine seeing those turquoise waters and those atolls from above.
Seaplanes. Okay, that sounds incredible, like an experience in itself.
Right. And then if you're on a tighter budget or maybe you want a slower pace, there are also public ferries. It all depends on what you're looking for.
So many options. Love that. Okay, let's get specific. The guide talks about a few islands and Malé, the capital. What are some key things we should know about each one?
Well, we've already talked about Malé and its cultural attractions. But imagine an island perfect for honeymooners, Kuramathi Island. Lush landscapes, those picture-perfect beaches, some of the best diving spots in the Maldives.
Kuramathi. Got it. Now, what about if you're looking for more adventure?
If you're into action, the guide recommends Magudu Va Island. It's a haven for water sports. Think wakeboarding, kite surfing, windsurfing.
So we've got culture, romance, adventure all covered. Now let's switch gears for a sec. The guide talks about staying connected while you're there. What's the deal with internet and communication in the Maldives?
It's pretty straightforward, actually. Most resorts have Wi-Fi, but if you want to be connected outside the resort, getting a local SIM card is a good idea. Providers like Ooredoo and Diragu have some affordable data plans.
Good to know. What about those essential things, like power plugs, emergency numbers?
You'll need Type D and G plugs for your devices. And yeah, always a good idea to have those emergency numbers handy. Police is 119, ambulance is 102.
Okay, got it. Noted. Now, are there any apps you recommend downloading before we go? something to make getting around and exploring easier.
Definitely. For getting around Malle, Avis Ride is a popular taxi app. And if you're planning on using public transport, the RTL Travel app is great for bus and ferry schedules.
Super helpful. Anything else to make our digital lives easier while we're there?
Oh, Google Maps and Maps.me are your best friends for navigation, especially if you download offline maps, just in case you don't always have internet access.
Smart. Okay, so I think we've covered all the practical stuff. Passports, check. SIM card, check. Apps, check. Now let's go back to the fun stuff. The guide keeps talking about the magic of the Maldives.
Hmm.
But what is it that makes it so magical?
I think it's that unique mix of natural beauty, luxury, and tranquility. Those picture-perfect beaches, that crystal clear turquoise water, that feeling of being totally surrounded by nature, it all comes together to create something truly unforgettable.
It really is like stepping into a postcard, isn't it?
Yeah.
But beyond the aesthetics, do you think there's something deeper that contributes to this magic?
The guide does highlight Maldivian culture as a big part of it. The warmth and hospitality of the people, the rich history and traditions, those amazing flavors in the cuisine. These elements add a depth and richness that goes beyond just the scenery.
It's not just a beautiful place, it's a place with soul. And the guide mentions something about the pace of life in the Maldives, too.
Yeah. The guide emphasizes how life there just moves at a slower pace. There's a sense of serenity and tranquility that's hard to find in our busy world. It's a place to disconnect, to unwind, and to just be present.
That sounds so appealing. In a world that's always go, 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 that sense of peace almost feels like a luxury itself.
Exactly. And it's that combination, the natural beauty, the culture, the peacefulness, that creates that unique Maldivian magic.
So well said. Now, I know we touched on the cultural side, but I'm curious to go a bit deeper. What can we do to really immerse ourselves in the local culture beyond just visiting the capital?
The guide suggests exploring some of the local islands. You can experience authentic Maldivian life firsthand there.
Local islands. Tell me more.
Think charming villages, meeting friendly locals, seeing what everyday life is really like. You could wander through local markets, sample traditional food at family-run places, even try your hand at some local crafts.
That sounds like a completely different experience from the resorts. A chance to really connect with the heart of the Maldives.
Exactly. And for that, the guide specifically recommends islands like Mafushi, Degura, Thulustu. They offer a more budget-friendly and culturally immersive experience.
So you can have both. The resort experience and the authentic local experience.
Awesome.
But what are some things to keep in mind when visiting these local islands? Any cultural etiquette we should be aware of?
Right, good point. It's important to remember that the Maldives is a Muslim country. So dressing modestly is important, especially when you're visiting local communities or religious sites.
Okay, so dress modestly. Got it.
It's also a good idea to learn a few basic Divi phrases, the local language, just a sign of respect.
Dress modestly, learn a few phrases. Check. What about the food scene on these local islands? Is it different from what we'd find at the resorts?
You'll find much more authentic, traditional Maldivian food there. Picture family-run restaurants serving those home-cooked meals, using fresh, local ingredients and spices.
Okay, now you've got me really intrigued. What kind of dishes can we expect?
One popular local dish is called hadil. It's a snack made with dried fish flakes, grated coconut, and chili. Then you've got rihakuru, which is a thick fish paste, often used as a condiment or a base for curries.
Hedil and rihakuru. Okay, those sound like must-tries. It's amazing how exploring the local cuisine can really give you a deeper understanding of the culture.
Totally agree. Food is a window into the soul of a place.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've explored local islands, immersed ourselves in the culture, and tantalized our taste buds.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about something super important. Responsible tourism.
Mm-hmm.
How can we make sure we're leaving a positive impact on this beautiful place?
That's a great point, and actually the guide has a whole section dedicated to that, which we're going to get into right now.
Perfect timing. Okay, so responsible tourism, super important, especially when we're talking about a place as beautiful and, as fragile as the Maldives.
Right. It's really about remembering we're guests in this incredible island nation. The guide stresses how important it is to, minimize our impact on the environment and try to support local communities.
Yeah, absolutely. So how can we do that? What are some practical steps we can take?
Well, one of the biggest things is choosing eco-friendly places to stay.
Okay.
Look for resorts or even guest houses that have sustainable practices. Things like using renewable energy, conserving water, managing waste responsibly, all that.
So it's about doing a little research and making conscious choices. What else can we do to, keep our environmental footprint small.
When you're exploring the underwater world, it's super important to respect the marine life. Don't touch the coral reefs, keep a safe distance from the animals, and choose snorkeling or diving operators that prioritize ethical and sustainable practices.
Reef-safe sunscreen, responsible diving. Got it. The guide also mentioned something about single-use plastics.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Right.
Minimizing our plastic use is huge GE. Just bringing a reusable water bottle and saying no to those single-use plastic bags, that can make a real difference.
Small changes, big impact. Now, beyond the environmental stuff, what about supporting the local communities? How can we make sure our tourism dollars are, actually benefiting the Maldivian people?
Choosing locally owned guest houses, eating at those local restaurants, buying souvenirs from local artisans, all those things are a great way to make sure your money is going directly back into the community.
I love that. It's all about being mindful of where we spend our money. Now, we've talked a lot about the luxury side of the Maldives, but what about travelers who are, on a tighter budget? Are there options for them?
Absolutely. The guide actually highlights the rise of guest houses on local islands as a much more affordable way to experience the Maldives.
Guest houses, okay. That sounds like an even more immersive way to experience the culture, too.
Right. Think about staying in a family-run guest house, interacting with locals, getting a real feel for everyday life.
Okay, I'm sold. Guest houses it is.
Yeah.
But what about those overwater bungalows? Are those totally out of reach for, budget-conscious travelers?
Well, they are often associated with those luxury resorts and the high prices, but, there are actually some more affordable options out there.
Really?
Yeah. The guide suggests doing some research online. There are websites, travel blogs dedicated to finding more budget-friendly overwater bungalow options.
Okay.
You might have to be flexible with your dates, maybe adjust your expectations a little bit, but it's definitely possible to find that little slice of paradise without spending a fortune.
Flexibility and research, I can do that. Now, on to something important for any traveler, packing.
hmm
What are the must-haves for a Maldives trip?
Lightweight, breathable clothes are essential. It's a warm climate, so think cotton shirts, shorts, sundresses, stuff like that.
Comfort is key. What about, protecting ourselves from the sun? That's got to be important.
Yeah, a wide-brimmed hat, sunglasses, reef-safe sunscreen, those are non-negotiable. You'll be spending a lot of time outdoors, so protecting your skin is super important.
Sun protection check. What about footwear?
Water shoes or sandals are a must-have, to protect your feet from any sharp coral or rocks, especially if you're doing any snorkeling or swimming.
Makes sense. Wouldn't want to miss out on all the underwater fun because of a cut foot.
Exactly. And speaking of underwater exploration, you might want to consider bringing your own snorkeling gear if you have it.
Okay.
A lot of resorts and dive centers will rent it out, but bringing your own means it fits perfectly and it's, hygienic.
Good point. I'll definitely be packing my snorkel and mask.
Yeah.
Anything else we shouldn't forget?
A waterproof bag
Oh, yeah.
or a dry bag, something to protect your electronics, valuables from any water damage.
That's a must,
Yeah,
especially if we're spending time on boats or exploring those sandbanks.
exactly. And of course, don't forget your camera. You'll want to capture all those amazing memories.
Oh, for sure. I want to make sure I capture the beauty of those turquoise waters and those incredible sunsets.
Speaking of capturing memories, the guide actually has some great photography tips, for making the most of the scenery.
I'm all ears.
Okay, so the golden hours, sunrise and sunset, those are the times with the most magical light for photos. Try to plan your shoots then for the best results.
Golden hour photography noted. What about underwater? Any tips for capturing those vibrant coral reefs?
One thing to remember is that colors appear less vibrant underwater.
Oh, right.
So using a flash or an external light source can really help bring back those vivid colors.
Okay, so a flash for underwater shots. Got it. Any other advice for, budding photographers in the Maldives?
Don't be afraid to experiment. Try different angles, compositions, get creative. Try to capture the essence of the Maldives through your lens.
Awesome advice. I'll definitely be playing around with my camera and trying to capture those picture-perfect moments.
And remember, sometimes the best memories are the ones you experience firsthand.
So true. It's easy to get caught up in trying to get the perfect shot and forget to just enjoy the moment.
Exactly. So, to all our listeners out there, as you plan your own Maldivian adventure, remember to soak it all in, embrace the culture, and travel responsibly.
This deep dive has been incredible. We've uncovered so much about the Maldives, from those luxury escapes to the budget-friendly options, from cultural immersion to, all those essential travel tips.
It really is a destination that has something for everyone. Whether you're seeking adventure or relaxation or a little bit of both, you can create some truly unforgettable memories in the Maldives.
I don't know about you, but I'm ready to book my flight. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Maldives. We hope you've enjoyed the journey and feel inspired to plan your own escape to paradise.